River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I am Dan here without James this week. This entire week's of episodes do not have James. Unfortunately, he could not tape with me for this week, but we have superfan Eric here, who came in clutch for these episodes as our guest host. Eric, say hello to YouTube. Welcome to YouTube.
Hey, everyone.
And thank you for joining us wherever you're joining us, whether it's Shady Sports Network, our own YouTube channel, Spotify, and all other podcasting platforms. Before we get into it, let me remind you all that one of our show sponsors is Royal Retros. It is your go-to place if you need a retro jersey. You don't want to show up in one of the new fancy follow the crowd. You want to stand out. You want to wear something old school. Royal Retros has you covered. Go onto royalretros.com and use our code below me, Shady Sports, and you'll get 10% off of your order. Again, that's Shady Sports. Use that promo code when you check out at royalretros.com for any Royal Retro jersey that you purchase. You want to look old school. You want to throw it back to the good old days for your franchise. Looking at you, Jets fans. Go to royalretros.com and again, use the code Shady Sports for 10% off of your order. All right. So not going to lie, viewers and listeners, I was having a little bit of trouble thinking of what to really do for our Wednesday episode without my co-host with me. It feels weird calling it a state of the franchise. I would kind of want to save that for when we're in between that big 2-week gap we have between preseason game 3 and the regular season kickoff. But since I have a very special guest here this week and I don't know his 2 cents on certain things that have been happening this offseason, let's rehash some things like, I don't know. We have a particular holdout that is still holding out.
Yeah, we do.
Bosa. That's right. My prayers to the football gods to my Nick Bosa pop figure have not been working yet. And we're taping this. Whoop.
Avalanche.
There went some of my stuff. There went my little ornament football. And I love it when people talk away from the mic. And my little mouse that says number 1 49er fan.
All right.
I'll put those little guys up there later. But yeah, we're taping on August 21st. So if something happened in this episode's irrelevant now, good. I kind of hope that happens, but but no, we need to talk about the Bosa incident. We need to talk about the Bosa holdout for a little bit. I really want your 2 cents on it. Because I don't know. All the insiders that I follow have not raised concerning flags yet. My own personal concern did go up after we hadn't signed it by the Raiders game. There is one theory that's really intrigued me that potentially this is because Nick's team is saying, give me Aaron Donald money, like what, $31.5 million a year AAV.
Yep.
And again, in the theory, that's what they're asking. But John Lynch and his team are rebutting, saying, hey, let's match or go a little bit higher than, say, TJ Watt's contract, a pure pass rusher versus a generational defensive legend. Like, let's split the difference somewhere in the middle there. And that's, at least, again, in this theory, where the most logical place that the standoff is coming from. That's, at least, I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, we don't know what's going on because they are being cordial. Nothing's getting leaked that I'm aware of. Except that apparently the talks are few and far between. That's the only thing that I've seen in the recent days, is that they are playing chicken.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know what kind of insight you have, what kind of 2 cents you have. Like, are you worried about Bosa's holdout?
Well, so I'm worried in the sense that we absolutely must have him on the field this season. So I'm worried from that. I'm not worried that it's going to get done. To be honest, I don't think that they're in any sort of a hurry to get him signed and back on the field right now, because they don't really want him playing in these preseason games anyways. I think it's debatable how much they really want him to practice, to be honest, because I think he's just such a raw specimen of talent that I don't necessarily know that he needs to practice that much. So right now, I'm not really honestly that concerned about it. I don't expect a deal to get done until after this next preseason game. I think by then they'll finally decide to just go ahead and apply some urgency to it and get the deal done. I think that both sides know what needs to happen to get him signed. He's got to be the highest paid defensive player in football, at least from a guaranteed money perspective. I don't necessarily know that it needs to be on a annual salary basis, but
Yeah, the
he's gonna.
AAV.
Yeah, I don't know that he necessarily needs to have that, but he's going to want the most guaranteed money of any defensive player that's out there, and that's what he deserves based on how he's played up to this point in time. I think the 49ers know that as well. I think they need to get creative with structuring his contract, figuring all of that out. Whether it's void years on the back end or whatever nonsense it is that they do to get things under the cap now, because we're really sitting pretty poorly as far as the 2024 cap is going. Like, this is, knock on wood, this is going to be kind of the last hurrah probably for this team as it's structured right now. It's not going to be fiscally possible for them to keep everybody in place in 2024 unless a lot of people restructure deals and they do a lot of magic stuff with the money that I can't understand as a non-capologist.
Oh,
But
not just restructures. It needs to be like outright pay cuts. Like
yeah,
I'm a nerd and spent some time on Sport Track and Over the Cap. Like Christian's already got a lot of void years. Warner's got a lot of void years. Uh, oh my God, Kittle's got a lot of void years.
yeah,
Ward's got a lot of void years. Like there's only so many more void years that they can do. Like you're right with we're gonna deny trades fifth year option, but
yeah,
are we going to feel compelled to keep Sam? We only got next year left before Brock can hold out for money. Brandon Ayuk needs money next year. Armstead can hold out for money next year.
yeah.
Greenlaw can hold out for money next year. So many players that are very expensive right now are going to be more expensive in 24. Like, I'm not convinced we are going to keep Brandon Ayuk personally. I think we're on the same page on that, but
Yeah, unfortunately so, because I think he's the better of the two receivers, to be honest. I think he's a much better route runner and a much better pure receiver than Debo is. He blocks really well, too, which is important in Kyle's scheme. And I think it's going to be unfortunate that I just don't see any way that we're going to be able to hold on to him, because I expect, if the season goes the way that I think all of us as fans are hoping, I mean, Ayuk's going to have a really big year. And that's going to just set him up for a huge free agency. And I don't see any way that we're going to be able to afford to pay him unless they somehow trade or let Debo walk or something like that.
oh, dude, think about it like this too. Juwan Jennings, he signed a restricted tender, so he's a free agent next year too. He's going to want to get paid, and he's going to want to be more than third in Juwan. And as excited as I am at the prospect of having Juwan, George, Brandon, and Debo out all at the same time, this is the last year we can keep all four of them. And Bosa is a big factor in that because he wants that 31 AAV or whatever 90 guaranteed. I don't know how much Darnold has guaranteed or if there's a more guaranteed than him, but I'd imagine it's probably going to be like 80, 90 million guaranteed, which is
Yeah,
not easy to produce.
yeah. And I mean, you've got Big Trent still on the left side that's making a ton of money as the left tackle, and I mean, he's worth the money that you're paying him, right? As long as he keeps Brock clean. But he's also, I think he's like 35 years old. So, I mean, like, he's going to start slowing down here at some point in time and not going to really be worth $20 million a year that they're paying him and that kind of thing. So,
25.
yeah.
Speaking of a
So,
player that doesn't have void years and is not taking a restructure, we're paying him 25 a year. I think he is our biggest cap hit right now.
yeah, probably. Well, he will be. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before they get something done. But they know he needs to be on the field. They're eventually going to have to cave. There's no way they can go more than one game this season. If you remember way back in the day when Emmitt Smith held out, right, and the Cowboys went like 0-2 without Emmitt Smith or whatever, and they were immediately like, "Oh, here you go, Emmitt, big truckload of money. Let's give it to you." I mean, I think everybody kind of learned their lesson from that situation, and I don't think they're going to let it go that far. I'd have to look too, and I should have done that before the show. I apologize, but I think there's penalties too if he doesn't play, because he is under contract. I mean, he's on his 5th-year option. So, I mean, I think there's penalties if he doesn't actually play in games and just holds out. And I don't think that the 49ers can waive those. I'm not 100% sure about all that, though.
In-game misses, I don't know either. These training camps that he's missing, though, that he's already easily racked up like $2-3 million already, these can be waived because he's not on a second contract, I think is the specific stipulation. It's the fact that he is on a first contract. Like if this was a second or third contract veteran, they can't waive those.
Yeah.
But the Niners can waive all these, and obviously they're going to. It's Nick Bosa. He's trying to get a mega contract. They're going to waive these fines. And I agree with you. Like Bosa was barely going to practice anyway. He was getting a lot of veteran days last year in season. He was not going to take one snap in any of Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey are
Kittle.
not going to get any snaps. He's in Gainesville, I believe, right now. He's in Florida. He knows his workout. He knows what it means to be the defensive player of the year. And he was a rookie when we got to the Super Bowl, which is no doubt left a pretty big scar in his mind of like motivation to stay in shape as long as he can. And
I mean, have you seen the dude? He looks like a statue. I mean, like he's in phenomenal shape. I mean, I have no concerns about him having this time off and coming back, not having practice, not having done anything. Like said, I think after this Chargers game this weekend, I think that's when everything will start to kind of finally bubble up in earnest, and I think that they'll get him signed within the week and he'll be ready to go.
And he will give the least enthusiastic interview I've ever heard. Have you heard him talk?
Yeah, it's not great.
I remember every time I've seen him on like behind the scenes videos or like when he got called by, I felt bad for Rich Eisen. I watch Rich Eisen a lot. He's probably the guy I watch the most. And, he's very monotone and very matter of fact, not too exciting and not too hard on himself. And, I'm just going out there and love my teammates. And it's the most boring interviewer ever.
Yeah.
It's so.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh.
Yeah, he's clearly been coached that it's better off that you don't say a whole lot, and it's better just let your play speak for you, and leave it out on the field rather than leave it on the microphone. So.
Oh well, yeah. If you remember his rookie year, I won't say. I'm not going to stir up what it was. Google it if you want to, listeners and viewers. But his rookie year, his PR team had a lot to deal with his rookie year. If you remember what I'm talking about.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So, but yeah, I think that's all going to work itself out. I think he's going to end up being very handsomely paid. And then, we're going to roll right into week 1 with hopefully coming out of this last preseason game, everybody intact and everybody ready to go. And, the start of a really good season in Pittsburgh.
I think so too. It's going to be a really good challenge though. I can't think of a better road game other than like a division game for us to start the season on. Do you think this does this change? Does the holdout and does the holdout change your opinion of John Lynch at all? Like it has, because James, another a fun little Stephen A. Smith, I call it, debate that we had was if John Lynch is any less of a great GM because his wonderful GM Howie Roseman has never had a holdout. So I just to hear your opinion on it, because for me it hasn't really changed. It is notable that this is the longest holdout because Warner came back by now. Yeah, Warner wasn't even in question. Kittle wasn't even really in question, and Debo missed 1 day of practice and then got signed. Like, Robbie Gould was the worst holdout that we had. I remember he was a pain in the butt to sign for some reason, but
well, he didn't really want to be here. So I mean.
Yeah, he says he does, but
it doesn't lower my opinion of Lynch really at all. I mean, I think John has done a really good job as the GM since he's been here. I mean, he's made some really good trades. He's picked up some really good people. People can crap on the draft, here and there, but if you look at, we kind of talked about it on the last show just briefly, but he kind of either hits at 100% on a draft pick or they completely whiff on a draft pick. There doesn't seem to be any real in between. Like, I'd love for him to get like a couple like 70, 80 percenters in there every now and then to kind of balance the roster out. But I mean, when he hits on someone, he hits on a superstar. And I mean, like, that's been good. I mean, he pulled the trigger, love it, hate it, whatever you want to do. The Garoppolo trade at the time was the right trade for the organization. And if you're a Jimmy hater, whatever, but he got us to a bunch of NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. So, I mean, like, that was a good direction for the franchise at the time. He pulled off the McCaffrey trade last year, which completely changed the complexion of the franchise and where we sat. So, I mean, I think he's doing a good job. Could he do better with draft picks? I mean, okay, sure, I guess. But, I mean, you can probably, if you really broke that down for every GM, you could say that they could all do better at draft picks. None of them are hitting at 100% clip. So, I mean, I don't know what you really expect out of the guy. I mean, he's signed guys to good deals. We've been able to keep the core of this team together for the last, if we go back to like 2019, we've had basically the same core of the team. I mean, that's pretty good GM work in my mind.
I completely agree. To lose a minimal amount of players, the players that we have lost, the only one that really made me sad was losing Buckner. Buckner was the only one that really bummed me out. But the pick your poison, I understand why we could have got, we did get a first for Buckner. We weren't going to get a first for Armstead. I get it. You couldn't pay both of them. But really, outside of that, I mean, E-Man, I wish we kept E-Man, but we weren't going to pay him $6 million like Detroit was. Like, so I could get over things like that.
Yeah.
And then, with the draft picks, I mean, with how good Hufanga, Warner, Greenlaw, Brock, and then Debo was a second round pick. Let's not forget. Juwan Jennings was undrafted. Let's not forget. For all these guys that are massive, massive contributors that were in the later rounds, it kind of balances out that we whiffed on Solomon Thomas. It kind of balances out that we whiffed on, it's a free agent, but D Ford. It didn't matter that we whiffed on D Ford. It doesn't matter as much, at least to me. Feel free to say no, but the Trey Lance, I think we've weathered the Trey Lance trade pretty good. Personally, it's unfortunate that it was 2-3 first round picks, but I feel like we've maintained a level of talent to kind of balance it out, even though that was just incredible luck that Purdy turned out as good as he did.
Well, I mean, they could have picked anybody with that last pick of the draft, right? But they did pick him for a reason. So, I mean, if they don't pick him, he goes into that, big free agent pool, and anybody could have signed him, right? I mean, wouldn't have necessarily been us. So they for some reason thought that he had something to him that they decided to pick him with the last pick of the draft. Now,
probably he played actually 4 years at Iowa. He was did he do the red shirt too? So it was 5 years at Iowa and 4 playing. Like, he had a lot. He didn't do 2 years in bail. He stayed with Iowa.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to sit there and hate on Lynch, you can. But, I mean, if this season turns out how we both hope it'll turn out, you're going to be looking at a guy who was the last pick in the draft, hopefully holding up a Super Bowl trophy. And I don't think you can say much more about, being a good GM and making good draft picks than that sort of a situation. I mean, even if Brock just plays really well and we don't get to the Super Bowl, but we get to like the championship game or whatever, something like that. I mean, the fact that you got a guy drafted where he was playing and leading a team like this, and if he's playing as well as he did last year, I mean, my goodness, I mean, I don't know what more you can expect out of a guy.
Just don't play worse. That's where I stand. James made a case that he needs to step up, and I'm not telling him he doesn't need to step up. If he steps up and plays even better, more the merrier, of course.
Please.
but I think honestly, like, as long as he doesn't play worse because of how close we got to the Super Bowl, the way he was playing, that's where I'm coming from. Just don't be worse than what you were. You barely threw dangerous interception-worthy passes. You could scramble as well as Lamar Jackson or Tua, or, well, not Tua. That was a bad example, but you could scramble as well as anybody else. You could throw accurate darts as well as Jimmy G did. Just be smart. You don't have to, in this specific situation with how talented this roster is, you don't have to be Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes. Just don't be worse than how you
Yeah,
played last year.
yeah, totally agree with you. I mean, like, if we go back and we look at last year, the 7 or 8 game stretch it was that he played. I mean, there was a literal time where we were just kicking in the teeth of everybody else that we were playing. We
Dallas
were,
was the only opponent that really gave us that bad of a headache.
yeah, I mean, we were wiping people out defensively, and then we were doubling them up offensively. I mean, we were scoring like 35 points a game. If we can just play that same football, and Brock wasn't like being a superstar. I mean, he was playing very well, but like to your point, like he was just playing well within the system that Kyle, drew up for him. He didn't have to go out and sling a 4 touchdown game. He didn't have to make crazy things happen, right? He just had to take care of the ball, make the throws that are there for him, and lead the team, right? That was what he had to do. And I mean, since James isn't here, we can talk candidly about this. I think they would have beaten the Eagles in that NFC Championship game if Purdy wasn't hurt.
If we didn't have Ross Dwelly on, oh my God, what was his name again? Not, I keep calling him Unique Ngakoue, which is he was a Colt last year. Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, if he plays the same level that he played last year, which is to your point, the ceiling for this team is right there at the top. It's all just about, and it's one of the little notes that I have for this is that it's all just about health, right? If we can keep our starters healthy, this is a Super Bowl winning roster, and it's built to win, and it's built to win now. And Brock doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. Brock doesn't have to be anything spectacular. He just has to play within the system, and we'll be just fine.
Just grip it and rip it. That's a core factor of Kyle Shanahan's passing game. You catch the ball, you read the field fast, and pick someone.
Yeah.
Like scramble if something falls apart, but assuming the offensive line holds up and everybody runs their routes right, you shouldn't be holding the ball for more than 2 seconds. It should be right there. Like,
yeah, because most of the time Kyle schemes open like the throw anyway. So I mean, like, across the Jimmy G era and then a little bit of when we watch Brock play, I mean, like if you watch it, most of the time he's throwing to a wide open guy because of the scheme that Kyle's put in place. The guy's wide open, and it's a 5-yard or maybe a 8-yard throw that you have to make to a basically guy who doesn't have anyone within 2 yards of him, and all you gotta do is just complete it and then let them run with it. And I mean,
we're not running an air raid offense.
Yeah, I mean, people used to knock on Jimmy because his, average target depth was like 4 yards or whatever, and it was like, oh yeah, the receivers do everything. Well, that's how the offense is designed to work. The offense is designed to get the ball into your playmakers' hands and let them make things happen.
Yeah, when you got guys like Brandon and Kittle and Debo that are just wrecking balls, like, no, I'll agree with you that Brandon is the better route runner, but when you see Debo get the ball in open space, it's like the Infinity Star turns on in Super Mario, and you need like 4 people to take him down.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he's getting paid the big bucks.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I mean, Debo with the ball in his hands is out of control. I mean, he's a house to bring down. I mean, totally. I just think Ayuk is the better route runner. I mean, if you watch, he twists people inside out when he's going down the field. They're running his routes like that. So I really
he's an ankle breaker for sure. His agility is so otherworldly.
Yeah. So I mean, I think. I think that just we have to keep our guys healthy, which, I mean, you really never have any real control over that. I mean, it's the NFL, right? But I think if we can just avoid, catastrophic injuries to certain positions, I think we're going to be okay. I mean, everybody's going to have problems with injuries, and you're going to have a guy miss a game here and a guy miss a game there. I mean, Debo's going to miss 2 or 3 games this season. It's coming. He always misses games.
Kittle's not going to play until October because he just is allergic to September.
Yeah. But I mean, once we get all those guys out there and everybody's flying around, I think we're going to be just fine. And I mean, I don't see any reason outside of just dumb luck or, somebody catching us on a bad day that we can't be sitting there watching the team in the Super Bowl and enjoying that game.
Let me ask, because I see what time it was. We hadn't spoke about draft picks, correct? Was there any specific draft pick that got you extra excited? Because there was a few that I've seen now in these 2 preseason games that, I didn't know who Ronnie Bell was, but I'm glad we have him now.
Yeah.
But there was a really, really good pitch made by everybody that we had on our draft episodes about D. Winters. He's a linebacker, and he was playing with the second and third stringers. D. Winters looks like he's some really, really nice depth. And then the safety from Penn State, Jair Brown. There was a pass yesterday. Jair Brown was the safety deep with Ambry Thomas chasing. I think it was Jerry Jeudy, and they oh my god, beautiful coverage. Didn't give Jeudy a chance to catch that pass. Yeah. Like I'm not saying that he should replace Gibson, and he's definitely not replacing Hufanga, but those two guys I remember from our draft specials. To see them, Winters was hitting so hard, and Jair Brown looked like he was very comfortable playing his safety position. I didn't know if there was any specific draft guy that you hope to get some ends up getting some time out on the field.
Yeah, well, I mean, I liked a couple of the guys that you said there too. I actually really liked the tight end that they picked up, Latau. I don't know how you say his last name.
Oh, Latu.
Yeah, Latu. Unfortunately, he's not turning out very good so far, but I really liked the concept behind that pick because I really liked the idea of being able to put him and Kittle out on the field, or even just give Kittle a break and put another guy out there on the field that had some explosive play potential like Kittle does. Because I mean, gosh love him, Dwelly is just kind of like a tight end. I mean, doesn't really bring a whole lot to the overall scheme of things. I actually
he had one really good 50-yard catch last year. Let us not forget.
Okay. He did. I actually really liked the kicker pick. I liked the pick of Moody, to be honest. I thought that was a really good pick. I liked the idea that we were going to theoretically get somebody that was a good kicker and a good player at that position for a low value compared to what we were paying Robbie, because I mean, as much as it was nice to have Gould out there, we were paying him like $4 or $5 million or whatever. That's a lot of money to pay a kicker. So, if you can get the same, rate or similar rate of success for a lot cheaper, I really liked the idea of what they were going there, because, talking about the whole salary cap thing that we were there, you've got to sort of like cheap out on a couple of positions where you can.
His age was a massive factor too. Somebody at 40, like, yeah, he's going to have to take a veteran's minimum now with his age.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were the positions that I thought were the big ones in the draft for me.
Okay. On your note sheet, I honestly I've hogged the mic the whole time, as I should as the host, but is there any last like thoughts or a last state of the franchise thing that you have on your mind that we can wrap this one with?
Well, I mean, I think that just the biggest thing is that on defense, I think we're really, really strong up the middle. I'm really excited about what we have there in terms of the defensive line, the linebackers, and then the safeties. I think that whole kind of lane that you have there is just really, really good. And I think that that's going to be the strength of our entire team. And then we've got Ward on the one side, and then, either Thomas or Lenore, whatever they end up doing on the other side there. And I think if we can keep that strength up the middle, that's going to really take away that whole, everything between the hashes and some there for people to make plays on, and really just force things either short or shorten to the outside and things of that nature. So I think it's really going to be very advantageous for us this season.
The only things that changed about our defense is we're going to have a new nickel. We upgraded from Kinlaw in the middle with Hargrave, and upgrade, or it's not hard to replace Al-Shaair. Not to say that he was a bad player, but if those are the biggest things that we have to worry about is replacing Ward and Shaair, and then Kinlaw too, and everybody else that's still 8 players that are back from last year. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty damn good on defense.
Yeah, I mean, the new defensive coordinator concerns me a little bit just because we had such success last year. I don't know how well, it's going to work under Wilkes this year. I mean, he was not a great head coach previously. Now, he did okay in his tenure with the Panthers last year, filling in on an interim basis. But, he does make his bread and butter as a defensive coach, and I'm hoping that shakes out well for us and that he's able to continue to get the most out of these players, because we've seen with Salah and then with Ryans that, I mean, this defense is, amazingly talented, and it's just going to take good coaching to continue to bring that talent out.
How amazing would that be if Kyle Shanahan is really, if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, and his legacy is just being that that stepping stone? What if his legacy ends up just being that stepping stone and he sets some record for the most coordinators turned head coach, like
Yeah.
between McDaniels and Sala and Ryans, and then we had one of our GM, the assistant GM behind Lynch, is now the GM
Yeah.
of the Titans. Like that doesn't quite count that much, but like, what if Steve Wilkes? People were asking for Steve Wilkes to be a head coach because of the way it ended with because of the way he ended that year with Carolina. But then again, he might be one of those guys that is better as a coordinator. Like who was the Eagles? Schwartz.
Yeah.
Terrible in Detroit, but an amazing
Terrible.
defensive coordinator.
Yeah, well, there's been a bunch of those guys that are really good coordinators, and then they become head coaches, and you're like, oh gosh, what are you doing? You're really bad at this head coach thing.
Yeah. Oh man, Del Rio and the guy that's
Yeah.
with the Jets now from last year, Hackett.
Well, I mean, you could go back to like Romeo Crennel. You
Oh
could go
god,
to
yeah, Cornell
Art
was bad.
Shell. I mean, there's some real Matt Patricia. I mean, there's
Oh
some
god.
real guys that are bad coordinators, bad or bad head coaches that were good coordinators. They're bad head coaches.
Well, in Patricia's case, it turns out a defensive coordinator is really bad at offensive coordination.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it, huh? Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
yeah,
Reverse engineering doesn't work in that case.
yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
god. Well, honestly, this has been a really, really fun episode. We do have one more coming up on Friday, guys. The party's not over with me and Eric yet. You just got to wait an extra day for us to get to that episode. But before we go, James would kill me if I didn't mention that we are running a campaign that includes shirts on bonfire.com. You can see right below Eric. All of our shirts are there on bonfire.com. And we are raising money for a yet to be named crisis and rape center in Kentucky. Not Inspire, that's not the right word, but this has come about because of the lack of owner accountability that has happened recently between Daniel Snyder and the minority owner in Houston. And unfortunately, our own, technically not owner, but for he's basically acting owner, even though he's technically CEO. So please don't send me emails about that. But what we want to do is raise awareness that owner standards are not being treated the same as player standards. Because if a player was accused of what Jed and Dan and the other owner, I honestly kind of don't care to say his name. I don't want to keep putting it out there. They would have been cut yesterday. Like they would have been cut so fast. So owner standards over player standards. Hashtag owner accountability is the hashtag for the campaign that we are running. And to show you the shirts that we have on Bonfire, we have, oh, that wasn't supposed to change back there as well. There we go. This is our owner standards, owner accountability shirt. We also have brought back from our Dan Snyder campaign the owner standoff shirt. We also have our show logo here. We also have an alternate show logo. And then I called this cute shirt because this peanut is adorable. But yeah, we have a little Niner Nut mascot now. And again, all these shirts, you buy them on bonfire.com /store/Niner Nuts apparel with lines in between each of them. It's right there. Just pause the video and copy it. All of the proceeds from these shirts are going to be going to the yet to be named Kentucky Crisis Center. And we just want to raise awareness of owner accountability. We want owners to be held as accountable as the players are. And it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that are bigger than football. We like to pride ourselves on taking things serious like this and try to bring awareness to you, the viewers and listeners, along with celebrating the great things that happen during the football season. So with that, that's it for this episode of Niner Nuts. Check us out on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're at Niner Nuts. Thank you for watching us if you're here on Shady Sports Network. Thank you, Sam, for letting us be a part of your programming, and check out all the other programming here on Shady Sports. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, thank you for watching us. The Shady Sports code will still work on Royal Retros, and you will still be helping a good cause going to bonfire.com. I got nothing really else to say other than I just have to note, usually I pull up Roto World, but we are running a little long. I have to note that Jonathan Taylor is seeking a trade. Oh man, I hope that goes well for him. I really, really do. I just want to put good vibes out there, and I want him to get paid as much as I want.
little Pop Bosa to get paid.
Yeah, we need Bosa back. We need Bosa to get paid. So with that, I'm putting out good vibes out there. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. We do have one more episode coming out Friday. Just because James isn't here doesn't mean that there's not going to be some betting odds that we'll be talking about. So that will be on Friday. Our game against the Chargers is also going to be on Friday, Saturday. I already forgot. And
Saturday, I believe.
Saturday, yes. I'm teasing you all because I said that I was going to have it ready for Wednesday. Just kidding. Now you have to listen to Friday's episode. So with that, I'll stop rambling. Thank you all for checking us out. We'll see you all on Friday.
Yep. Bye.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.